Frosty, 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 Frosty.
Hey guys, welcome to another week of Frosty Vlogs. Good to see you again. Let's get right down to it, shall we? This last week, I have been back in a TV watching mood. What I actually did, and I think is the best to talk about right now, is yesterday I went over to a buddy's house and we had an Unbreakable night. We watched the first season of Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. Neither of us had seen it, but I told him that I just finished The Office, and the actress who played Erin on The Office is the lead in Kimmy Schmidt, and so we decided to watch because both of us really liked her performance on The Office, and the show was awesome. I think that it did a really good job with the comedy, the delivery. I love the opening sequence. The song is just so catchy, and I really liked the humor that went into it. I wish that I could remember all the jokes that I really like, like keeping this as an obscene gesture. Sounds like a fun thing to keep doing. Referring to planes as great steel eagles or iron eagles. I don't remember which it was, but it was still funny. And there's one more, but I can't remember what it was, and I loved it. So we watched the first season of that, and it was pretty good. And then we decided to watch Unbreakable, M. Night Shyamalan's film, because he wanted to watch it again, and I'd never seen it. Unfortunately, I already knew how it ended because I'd saw that part on TV, and I mean the very last 2 or 3 sentences, and it never really impressed me because the kids used to call me Mr. Glass. Wasn't a whole lot to go off of, But then I sat down and I watched the movie beginning to end, and I was blown away. I mean, it was a pretty great movie. I think that there's parts to it, you can see coming. There's nothing about and from here on, just be aware that spoilers could exist. I mean, it's getting to be an older movie now, so I expect anyone who's going to see it to have already seen it, but just in case, warning. The thing is, you kind of knew that he had faked the injury the whole time. I had never once thought that he wasn't faking the injury from college, because, I mean, anytime it was ever brought up, he never, his face never adjusted, he never commented, he was so stoic about it, and nobody gets that way except when they're keeping a lie together. And then I really didn't like that his weakness was water for a couple of reasons. One of them is that weakness was brought back for signs, so I guess there's another, why water? That's just silly. Why double down? Was it because Unbreakable was so good that you felt like you could get away with it a second time? I mean, come on. That's ridiculous. But then the pool seemed to be the go-to for the water weakness. Water in general was fine, even though you never see him drink water, ever. Even when the kid was drinking water, he made him throw it out. But he was in the rain. And yet, for some reason, that didn't have any effect on his abilities. Now, you could argue he was wearing a poncho, but as we kind of see in the locker room after he wore the poncho the first time, it doesn't protect him perfectly because he was toweling off the back of his neck. So, pretty sure that it's not 100% waterproof, whatever he's using. And so there was water getting on him, and it only affects him on the inside, I guess? I don't know. But it would have been interesting because they chose a rainy day, if the rain had an ill effect and it altered his idea of whether or not he wanted to do what he was doing. But that's just me personally, aside from that, it was a really fun movie to watch. I thought that the action was done well, the story growth worked really well for it, and it was fun to watch it, and the whole time I was thinking about, I don't remember the name of it, but there's an episode in, I think, the first season of Twilight Zone where a guy becomes immortal, and he just goes crazy. He chooses to actively do things that would have scared him in life, essentially almost killing himself, because he can collect money from the accident insurance or whatever from the people who would have killed him if he hadn't miraculously survived. But he got bored because the fear was gone. And yet David in Unbreakable doesn't seem to get that way at all. He's actually just excited at the opportunity to finally have his purpose fulfilled. So it was overall a pretty good movie. Pretty good. Pretty great. It's probably my favorite M. Night Shyamalan film. Although, to be fair, I've never really loved M. Night Shyamalan. I know a lot of people love Sixth Sense, but because I had it spoiled for me, I watched it the whole time with the ending in mind, and that kind of ruins your perception. I've only ever caught the ending of The Village, so I don't have any idea of how that builds up, and I don't think that one's going to be as fun to watch and see how it builds up as it was with Unbreakable. I just don't see it happening that way. Hey, Allie. I hated Devil. I thought Devil was atrocious because it was so obvious where it was going right when it started, and it ended the way that I thought it would from the trailers. And it's like, yeah, well, thanks for trying to like curveball me in the film. You're like, nah, it can't be that person. That's ridiculous. It's like, nope, it's exactly who you thought it was the whole time. Thanks. And obviously Avatar, which a lot of my friends deny the existence of. And to be clear, for the people who don't know, I'm talking about Avatar The Last Airbender, which was a film that he directed, not Avatar, James Cameron's Avatar. But anyone who has that big of an issue of Avatar The Last Airbender has not seen Aragon after having read the books. Because that was a travesty. I have never seen a worse transition of book to film, and I try to give it the benefit of the doubt in that, as I understand it, the film started production before the second book was written, so it made some edits on its own for its own sake, and I get that, but by the time it came out, the second book was out and the third book was already in the works. So the fact that they couldn't have talked to the author and figured out what to do really bothers me. And what bothers me more is that I don't have an Aragon miniseries on HBO or I don't care who's gonna produce it, honestly. Netflix would actually probably do a great job of it. But I want a miniseries because each book has a lot that you could go into. And I mean, no, it's not as long as Game of Thrones, but there's still a big world. There's a lot going on. You can show multiple sides that we didn't get in the books. I mean, I'd love to see what Galbatorix was up to the entire time that this kid and his dragon that comes out of nowhere. I mean, not nowhere. He's been hunting it down, but like this kid just happens to hatch the egg, which doesn't just happen. Like, how does he handle that? You know, what is his preparation, and how is he dealing with the fact that there's a country of usurpers just to the south of his border? You know, I mean, obviously he didn't care that much, but he did care. It would be nice to see. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna cut this one off right about here because that's pretty much all I got to say about this. And I really just wanted to keep this one about media, I suppose. If you've got anything you've been watching that you want me to take a look at, please feel free to let me know. I would love to start watching something new. Next on my docket, I'm kind of between, I started watching 30 Rock and I'm liking it, and I might finish that. Or I'm thinking about finishing up Twilight Zone because I've only got like 2 more seasons left, and I really like Twilight Zone. So it's kind of up in the air which of those two I'm going to be doing next. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great one.